Before we start, the name is at the top of the screen. They bind her to the wooden post before the crowd. Voices rise, demanding she apologize, asking if she knows how many lives were lost because of her. The judge's voice cuts through the noise, declaring the false Saintess Luna sentenced to death by burning at the stake. She falls silent, thinking to herself, what has she even been doing until now? The nobles betrayed her for status and honor. The royals used her as nothing more than a weapon, and various nations waged war to obtain her power. In such a vile world, in such a miserable life, she has no regrets left. As the judge asks her if she wants to say anything for the last time, she recalls the villain from that novel she was in the middle of reading. She kind of wanted to see how the story ended. Luna slowly opens her eyes as faint voices echo through her mind, soft, desperate calls reaching for her, promising that she will be saved. The haze in her vision clears bit by bit, and she finally makes out the faces around her. A man stands beside her bed, his expression cold and assessing as he murmurs that her condition is terrible. Beside him, a woman trembles, stifling her sobs, while another man stands nearby, his face dark with worry. She blinks weakly, confusion washing over her. Who are these people? She wonders as a voice explains that she was struck by Lord Howard's carriage while trying to protect a child. She thinks faintly, shouldn't she be dead already? The man asks the doctor about her condition, and the doctor's grim tone fills the room. He explains that she has multiple fractures to her head, waist, and limbs, along with severe internal injuries, ruptured organs like the spleen and liver. Honestly, he adds, it's a miracle she's still alive. The man turns to the doctor, his voice steady but detached, asking if recovery is possible. The doctor exhales heavily before replying that, realistically speaking, it is not. Silence hangs in the air for a moment, and then the man says quietly that he is sorry but he will have to call off their engagement. Her parents flinch in disbelief and grief. The man only shrugs, his tone indifferent as he remarks, did he say something strange? With a body like that, she would never be able to fulfill her duties at night, would she? Unfortunately, he lacks the peculiar taste for defective goods. Rage distorts her father's face as he seizes Howard by the collar, shaking him violently and shouting for him not to dare mock his daughter. It was his carriage that caused the accident. A servant rushes forward, pleading for him to calm down, reminding him that if harm comes to Lord Howard, their entire household will suffer the consequences. Howard brushes off the commotion with a smirk and coolly says he will be taking his leave. Luna realizes this body is not the same body she was in before. Got her engagement broken off, called effective by her fiancé. That about sums it up. It seems she was reborn after her execution. Her soul ended up inside the girl who died being hit by that carriage. She wonders what she's supposed to do now. Her body feels broken, and she can't help but think she might die again. Then, her finger twitches. Her eyes widen as she notices her wounds slowly healing on their own. This body has the same saintly power and strong vitality as before. Still, if she wakes now, they will start asking questions she can't answer. So she forces her eyes shut and lets out a faint sound of pain, pretending she's still on the edge of consciousness. A strange sound breaks the silence, causing her parents to panic and ask the doctor what it was. Luna groans inwardly, wondering why it had to happen now of all times. Her mother, worried, asks if she might be hungry, but the doctor dismisses it, saying that in her condition it's impossible, it's surely a hallucination. Yet another growl follows, louder this time, and her father insists that she heard it too. Her father leans closer, asking if there's something she wants to eat, and Luna realizes too late that it was a trap. Unable to ignore the question, she quietly says she wants something sweet. Her parents freeze in shock, astonished that she spoke, before rushing to bring her food. Later, as she sits up eating bits of fruit, they bombard her with questions, and she reassures them with a faint smile that she is fine and thanks them for worrying about her. Her father stands there in stunned silence before murmuring that it's a miracle, while her mother clasps her hands in prayer, saying they must thank the saintess for this blessing. The fruit stops halfway to Luna's mouth as her hand freezes midair. This world has saintesses too, she thinks. Unlike this one, she was condemned and burned at the stake. The saintess here seems to be revered. Later, when her test results arrive, they show she is inexplicably healthy. This body belongs to Luna Speedio, 15 years old. The face and appearance are exactly the same as her past self. Maybe that is why her soul was drawn here. She doesn't really understand why this happened, but it seems she has been reincarnated 300 years later in the holy calendar year 2000. She lets out a tired sigh, murmuring even after 300 years, there is still war. After the Saintess's execution, the nations finally ceased their fighting and peace returned. But that peace was short-lived. Before long, the great demon lord resumed his torment on humanity. Without the Saintess' power of deterrence, humanity could only be trampled mercilessly. People prayed for salvation, but the Saintess was gone. The foolish humans destroyed their own last hope. She reminds herself that it's all too late. She is no longer the Saintess. Turning her gaze to the family register, she notices her parents listed as 45 years older than her, realizing there must be a complicated story behind that. Deciding it's best not to pry, she lets the thought go, stretches her arms, and yawns, wondering what she should do from now on. She was given a second chance at life. This time she just wants to live as an ordinary girl called Luna. Her cheeks feel warm as she recalls her dreams, a faint emotion stirring within her while she wonders what were her dreams. Villainess, the character she admired from that novel, she was free-spirited, selfish, and the complete opposite of a saintess. She wants to be like her and was to herself. No matter who is in trouble, she will never help anyone again. She is going to become that villainess. She snaps out of her thoughts when a maid enters, announcing that her outfit is ready. It takes her a moment to recognize the woman, her personal maid, Ro Staincrow. Ro politely adds that Lord Carlo and Lord Travis are waiting for her in the dining room, then hesitates before asking if her lady still needs her assistance. Luna smiles faintly, remembering how she had been using the maid's help as camouflage after her injury, and replies that her legs aren't that bad anymore, so perhaps she doesn't need it. Ro's expression doesn't change much, but she responds that it's wonderful news. As they head toward the stairs, Luna studies her, unable to tell if Ro actually believed her words. Then she stops mid-step as realization hits. She remembers this exact moment from the novel. This is it, her chance to play the villain. A mischievous smile curls on her lips as she turns to Ro and asks if he has a moment. She then places a finger on the stair railing, hoping to find a speck of dust she can use for dramatic effect, but to her dismay, it's completely spotless. Ro watches her with a blank face and asks if something is the matter. Luna blurts no, nothing at all. To think she wouldn't even give me a single chance for a villainous move, Luna sighs inwardly. What a terrifyingly capable maid. Ro studies her for a moment before saying that she seems a little different lately. Luna freezes, panic flickering in her eyes as she wonders if the maid has somehow figured out she reincarnated. Trying to sound calm, she asks, out of curiosity, how she has changed. Ro replies bluntly that she has become a bit of a scatterbrain, but personally finds her much more charming and approachable now, asking for forgiveness if she has spoken out of turn. Luna's face brightens as she asks if she really thinks so, silently thinking what a sweet girl she is. A few days later, as Ro tightens her corset, Luna lets out a strangled sound, protesting that it's far too tight. Unbothered, Ro replies with perfect composure that it isn't tight enough and instructs her to pull her stomach in more. Luna gasps dramatically, pulling in her stomach for dear life. Tonight Luna is attending a royal ball in the capital. It is a high-status party, open only to count-level families and above. She really doesn't want to go to those kinds of events, but since their family's nobility, skipping would probably cause problems for everyone. Besides her dream villainess, the second life noble status is essential. The higher the family rank, the more chances to become a villainess. Once she is dressed and steps out, her parents stare at her in awe. Her father exclaims that she looks beautiful, just like her mother, while her mother smiles proudly, saying she knew white would be the perfect choice. Even Ro nods with quiet satisfaction, saying it suits her wonderfully. Luna thanks them all, announcing that she will be heading out, and reminds Ro not to forget about the book she mentioned earlier. When she arrives at the venue, her breath catches. The place glimmers under chandeliers, every detail polished to perfection. She blushes slightly, taking it all in. Nearby, a few girls chatter, one boasting that her dress was designed by a famous royal capital designer, another bragging that her jewelry was crafted from rare metals mined in the Ordo Mountains. Luna sighs inwardly, watching the scene unfold. So, the brutal war of social one-upmanship has already begun, she muses. A woman's battle not fought with swords, but with smiles sharp enough to kill. Even after 300 years, some things never change. Before coming here, she asked Ro to check the old bookstores. She wonders if they still have the novel she loved 300 years ago. She steps out onto the terrace, the cool night air brushing against her skin. She already feels drained. She thinks of the book she never finished before her execution, the story forever left incomplete. And if she doesn't find it, she will never get any sleep. From behind, a group of men notice her. One of them murmurs that the melancholy beauty standing by the railing looks divine. Another agrees, saying she is stunning. One declares he will go speak to her. A figure soon approaches. Luna turns at the sound of footsteps and freezes. Standing before her is Howard, her former fiancé. Even he looks momentarily stunned. He murmurs he never thought she would recover from that condition, and yet she looks even more beautiful than before. He adds that it is as if she is overflowing with purity itself. Then, extending his hand toward her, he asks if she would grant him the honor of spending the evening with him. Behind him, gasps and whispers ripple among the young women. They can't believe Lord Howard is asking that plain country girl for a night invitation. Duke Howard von Glazer, a young duke with lineage, looks, and charm all in one package. He is the dream catch of every ambitious noblewoman attending tonight's ball. But her saintly eyes cannot be deceived. He hides a dark, twisted malice within. With a calm, almost indifferent tone, she tells him she already has other plans for the evening and apologizes. Gasps ripple through the girls nearby, their faces mirroring collective disbelief. Howard, however, maintains a composed smile and replies that it is a pity, but should she change her mind, she is welcome at his villa. He adds that he will drown her in sweet, blissful pleasure before turning away. The surrounding girls are still frozen. One whispers that this woman just rejected the Duke's invitation. Another exclaims that there is no better man than him and wonders what she was thinking. A third demands to know whose daughter she even is. Their stares, sharp, envious, and disbelieving, pierce into her from all sides. The ladies who had been bragging earlier now glare at her like restless monkeys ready to pounce. She resists the urge to reassure them that she is not their enemy. Still, the thought only confirms it for her: she doesn't belong here. Deciding it's best to retreat, she slips away toward the observation terrace. Just then, a commotion erupts inside the palace. Bandits storm through the hallways shouting for Princess Alessia. Alessia, the golden-haired princess known for her beauty. Panic sweeps through the crowd as nobles cling to their partners in fear. Luna watches them, amused, thinking the girls are using the chaos as an excuse to clutch their targets. Moments later, when the tension settles a bit, she finds herself outside with a weary expression. Why is she caught up in this mess? The guard said, blonde, but her hair is silver. The bandits cut the light and blinded the guards before striking, but of course that means they cannot see either. Their plan is to kidnap Princess Alicia, so they are grabbing every blonde woman they can find. She was on the terrace and in the moonlight her silver hair must have looked blonde, so now she's stuck like this. She guesses one of the girls sitting opposite her is Princess Alicia, and the one next to her is Lady Saruko from Mount Mountain. Saruko screams at the bandits, calling them insolent and demanding if they have any idea who she is, while Luna watches quietly, thinking their knots are poorly tied and they didn't even bother to gag them. How sloppy. After being kidnapped more times than she would care to admit in her past life, she can tell skill level from the smallest details. Alessia turns to Saruko, her voice trembling as she asks what will happen to them now, and Saruko mutters that who knows, they can only wait and see. Luna thinks she could escape any time she wants, but there's no need to make a scene, she will quietly slip away when the moment feels right. Just then, one of the Howards shows up, his twisted smile cutting through the moonlight as he apologizes for the rough treatment, making the girls freeze in shock. His grin widens as he says he hates to rush things, but why don't they all start taking off their clothes? Saruko's breath catches as she blurts in disbelief what he just said. He coolly replies that he doesn't recall stuttering and tells them again to take them off. With a snap of his fingers, his man heats a metal rod in the fire and brings it to him, making Saruko's eyes widen as she stammers what he intends to do with that horrible thing. He smirks and says he plans to brand his possessions with the family crest, of course, and Saruko's face twists in disgust as she calls him a monster, a depraved beast of a man, while he simply chuckles, unbothered, and remarks that loud women are not really his type. He adores the faces of beautiful women twisted in pain and humiliation. It's what he would call a habit. Just then, someone strikes Saruko from behind, and she collapses to the ground, losing consciousness. One of the men turns to Howard and asks what they should do with her, and Howard replies that he can do as he likes but to dispose of her properly afterward. Before he can move, Luna quickly kneels beside Saruko and begins channeling her magic to heal her. Howard watches with mild amusement and remarks that it's surprising Luna knows magic. She looks up at him and says she would rather not resort to violence, telling him to put his hands up and surrender. Howard's lips curl into a smug smile as he says that if she can use magic, then maybe there's still a chance to turn things around. His words barely fade before flames gather in his palm, and Luna's eyes widen in shock, realizing he can use magic too. He mutters, surprised that he happens to be the most powerful mage in House Glazer. Luna thinks magic constantly evolves day by day. There is no way her spells from 300 years ago can compete with modern ones. A cold calculation runs through Luna. If she does nothing, Princess Alessia and Lady Sirocco will suffer, yet another part of her insists she is no longer the saintess and need not risk her life for strangers. Howard orders her to stop resisting and to surrender. She answers that she will not know whether resistance is pointless until she tries. He merely shrugs, saying that many young maidens have fought him before and, in the end, they all cried and licked his boots. From this close, she can barely sense any magic from him. He is skilled. Still it is only 10 steps to the exit. Outside the mansion is a dim forest. If she uses wind magic, she can definitely escape. Howard's lips twitch into a smirk as he admits that the more he looks at her, the more beautiful she seems. If possible he would rather not fight her. He truly adores her beauty. She tells him he certainly talks lightly as she secretly activates her escape spell. He replies he is not being light at all. He went all the way to that shabby countryside mansion and even smiled for those filthy old folks, all because he loves her face and body enough to make the effort. She repeats his words, filthy old folks, and he feigns surprise, asking if that offended her, claiming he's never been good at lying, intends to speak his mind. Her face darkens with anger, and he notes that she's serious about it. She confirms she is, whether as Saintess Luna or the villainous Luna, she won't let that insult slide. With a smirk, he summons fire in both hands, saying it's a shame, but it can't be helped, and since they were once betrothed, he will show mercy by ending her in one strike. He hurls the blazing orb toward her and she pauses, realizing it's moving too slowly. There's no other magic signature nearby, just this strange, weak spell. Confused, she decides to simply punch it, and to everyone's shock, the flames vanish upon contact. She freezes in disbelief. She just punched it and the fire disappeared. Howard bursts out laughing, saying she never ceases to amaze him. Even if that was a low-tier spell, he can't believe she nullified it. He conjures a new flame, darker and fiercer hellfire, and throws it. She notes the difference in color, but before it reaches her, the fire disappears again. He watches wide-eyed as she sighs, looking exhausted, asking why he's wasting time with childish tricks in a life-or-death fight. Then, pointing sharply at her, he declares he's figured it out, a divine blessing, the kind granted from heaven to chosen ones. She must have the one that grants magic resistance. She retorts calmly that she has no such blessing. Howard goes on as if she didn't speak, his tone smooth with arrogance as he says that even her strength and resistance must have their limits. The air begins to tremble around him as he summons his ultimate spell, Abyss Flame, dark fire twisting up from his hand. His eyes gleam with a manic sort of delight, intoxicated by his own power, while his men are fascinated by his magic, convinced that not even a blessed one could survive such magic. Watching the faint flicker of surprise cross her face, he smirks and tells her it's far too late for regret now, she has dared to step on a dragon's tail. She exhales softly, her expression barely shifting, and murmurs that magic in this era has truly fallen from grace. Then, with effortless composure, she lifts her hand and conjures a vast orb of fire, its heat cracking the air, its light swallowing the darkness whole. Howard's grin fades, disbelief freezing his features as he recognizes the spell, the forbidden class Inferno. When he stammers in panic, she casually says that it's merely a low-tier spell, before her eyes narrow in faint amusement as she recalls his earlier words about making girls cry and lick his boots. His pride crumbles as he begs for mercy, but she tells him there's no need for words. The fire erupts, engulfing the chamber in brilliant ruin. When the light fades, Howard lies sprawled on the ground, groaning. She stands there and murmurs that she only intended to frighten him a little, what a coward. Turning, she surveys the wreckage and sighs that perhaps her light warning was too heavy-handed, though thankfully, her barrier kept Princess Alessia and Lady Sirocco unharmed. The clamor of approaching soldiers stirs her attention, rescue from the kingdom, no doubt. She thinks that it will be troublesome if they find her here. With a quiet incantation, she casts Fairy Conceal, dissolving her presence from sight and memory alike. Princess Alessia, still dazed, thanks her sincerely, but she waves it off, saying it was nothing. When the princess hesitantly asks who she is, Luna pauses, her lips curving faintly as she answers, just a passing same. Then corrects herself with a ghost of a smile, no, a passing villainess. The next day, she reads a newspaper which mentions a night raid occurred in the royal palace. Princess Alessia and several others were kidnapped when the royal guards rescued them. The culprit, however, was arrested. Dozens of other crimes were uncovered. The Glazer house was stripped of its ducal title and Howard was sentenced to 99 years of hard labor in the northern exile lands. Seems like a fitting punishment to Luna. But 99 years of hard labor in the frozen N is literally a living hell. There's a knock at the door, and Rose steps in, carrying a rather large box in her arms. Luna glances up, curiosity sparking in her eyes. "What's that?" she asks. Rose replies it's what she requested. Luna blinks, her mouth falling open as realization dawns. No way. She actually found it. When Rose sets it down and lifts the lid, Luna's face lights up with pure, unguarded joy, the complete collection of Villainess Archie resting inside. Rose explains apologetically that the covers are a bit aged and not quite suitable for display, though perfect for reading. Luna barely hears her, she's already running into her arms and tells her she loves her. A sky clear without a single cloud, a pleasant spring breeze and birds singing sweetly on a day this beautiful. She is going to stay inside and binge read Villainess novel. Luna reads with a blissful smile, completely absorbed, while Rose quietly serves her tea nearby and casually says that she seems unusually relaxed these days. Is she sure that is alright? Luna hums absent-mindedly, still lost in her book, before asking what she means. Rose, in her calm tone, reminds her that the entrance exam for the Saintess Academy starts soon and asks if she's prepared. Luna freezes mid-turn of a page, her expression crumpling as she slowly turns to her. "Saintess Academy?" she repeats, her voice caught between disbelief and dread. Rose answers simply yes. Now she is definitely not alright. According to one of the books in history, humanity executed the Saintess 300 years ago, the very one destined to defeat the Devil King's army. It believed in the Saintess resurrection, which was written on the Book of Prophecy. And now, that very Saintess reborn as Luna was expected to take the entrance exam for the Saintess Academy. Apparently. Rose casually informs her that the entrance exam is tomorrow, dropping the news with all the serenity of someone announcing afternoon tea. Luna's eyes widen in pure disbelief, her jaw slackening at the words. Tomorrow? Surely, Rose must be joking. But Rose continues as if nothing is amiss, explaining that the reincarnated Saintess's exam results are based on the total of 2 parts, writing and practical. The candidates must demonstrate both intellect and might worthy of being the sacred maiden. She then adds that everyone at home including Luna's parents are rooting for her success. Panic hits Luna like a cold wave. This might be bad. No, this is bad. Putting aside practical skills, her writing has always been a lost cause. But then a thought crosses her mind, wait, in the first place, she doesn't even need to take this exam. Or at least, that's what she wants to believe. However, realization soon dawns on her, this world follows the logic of a villainous story, and the Saintess Academy is the perfect place for her to be a villain. The ideal stage for a villainous young lady's debut. Which means she has to pass. No matter what. Still, she decides that her goal will be to pass with average results, nothing too exceptional to draw attention. She assures herself that her practical abilities will be fine, but the writing portion remains a problem. With renewed determination, she pulls out a mountain of books to study. As a former Saintess, her intelligence is hardly low, so surely she can manage this much. Or so she hopes. The next day arrives faster than she would like. Luna steps into the examination hall, finding it grand yet solemn. Dozens of examinees are already seated. The air is heavy with silence until a priest in white robes steps forward and declares they will now begin the 300th Saintess Academy entrance examination starting with the written test. Luna exhales softly, telling herself to stay calm and not to panic. As the questions appear before her, she finds some surprisingly simple, others utterly incomprehensible, but she pushes on, determined to complete them all. Then her eyes fall upon a peculiar question: what were the Saintess's final thoughts on the verge of her execution? She writes down steadily, the Saintess despaired of humanity and no longer thought anything of it. When the written exam concludes, the candidates are led outside for the practical portion. They are brought before a colossal, withered tree, its bark gray and lifeless. The priest explains that this was once the sacred tree of life, cursed and withered by the great demon General Skurs centuries ago. Though the tree is frail, it is not yet dead. Their task is to pour holy magic into it, converting that energy into life force to make it bloom once more. One by one, the candidates step forward, releasing faint glows of magic into the tree. Some manage to sprout a few timid leaves, others fail entirely. Then comes Luna's turn. She steps forward with a nervous expression, aware of the whispering voices behind her. The girls murmur among themselves, wondering aloud which country this nervous newcomer might be from. Luna inhales deeply. If she uses even a bit too much mana, things might get out of hand, she thinks nervously. Still, she raises her hands and channels her power. A radiant light spills from her fingertips, enveloping the tree in shimmering gold. Gasps ripple through the crowd as flowers begin to bloom across the branches, the air filling with warm luminescence. But then realization strikes her like lightning. Too much, stop it now. She panics and quickly cuts off her mana flow, and the light dims back to normal. Luna exhales shakily, her thoughts racing. If she messes up like that again, they will suspect her. They will drag her back as the saintess, and the peaceful life of a villainess she dreamed of will vanish for good. But the priest isn't ready to let go. He tells her to try again. She does, but she has lowered the output to its limit so nothing out of ordinary happens. The priest then approaches the tree and says maybe the magical energy of the examinees continue to accumulate inside and it must have been released by chance during her turn. The girls think so. In other words, she didn't do anything and it wasn't a big deal. She sighs in relief internally. This all is definitely making her stand out. Back in her mansion, Luna sprawls across her bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. The tension from the exam still clings to her. No matter how much she tries, she cannot seem to calm down, not until she knows she has passed. She decides she needs a change of pace. She makes her way down to the basement storage room, her eyes landing on a suit of armor, complete with a matching helm. She inspects every joint and plate carefully. Finding it still sturdy and usable, she exhales in relief, a faint smile tugging at her lips. At least it is usable. If they found out she was a saint she wouldn't be able to live in peace anymore, but if she wears this armor and work, she can move around freely here and there without worrying about her being found out. Just to be sure, she decides to strengthen a little by using water slash and shock resistance. And then she decides to use it. She used levitation magic to float inside the armor and synchronize her movements with sensory synchronization, and also made her voice that of a male. Outside, Luna draws curious stares as she strides through the streets in full armor, whispers following her about whether the towering figure might be a famed adventurer back from glory. She marches towards the city guild with the intention to register herself as an adventurer and stops before a burly man behind a desk, calmly stating that she would like to register as an adventurer. The man glances up, his scary face enough to make her tense, then silently slides a stack of forms toward her to fill out. When she fills and returns them, he frowns at the name written across the top silver, Glorious Elblood Fallen Heart, blinking as though unsure if it is a joke. She is thrown off by his reaction, thinking it is a cool name she thought so hard about. He then informs her all that is left is a test, only those meeting the bare minimum standards can join, and assumes she must be a swordsman. She declares that she fights with her fists. Just then, the door swings open and a cheerful voice announces his return. The receptionist shifts his attention to that young man with bright eyes and remarks that he must already be finished with his S-rank quest. He grins and answers easily that it was simple. The receptionist calls him the strongest swordsman in the guild, the divine blade of talent, while Luna, under her helmet, privately admits the nickname sounds quite cool and decides she wants one too. The boy's eyes fall on her with curiosity as he notes he has never seen her before and asks if she is new, and the receptionist explains that Silver is here to take the test. Tilting his head, the boy squints and says he cannot sense any magic from her, which makes her panic slightly, thinking in fear of getting caught as a saintess she ends up hiding her power too well. But then the boy smirks and declares he will give her a special silver test. And it was nothing else other than fate that made them meet here. And that concludes the video today. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you want another part.